now. And I'm just going to pop you guys on mute so you can shout at me all you want when we start doing the core stuff, and I won't hear you. Cool. If for any reason I am not the main screen, just hover above my little square. There'll be 3 dots, hit pin video, and that should be it. I don't know why there's a slight delay on my speaking, but hopefully that will get better. Okay, so just come to lie down on your mat. And we're going to start in a pose called Supta Baddha Konasana. So this is where the feet are together, the knees come wide. Now, if for any reason this is quite intense on the hip flexors, you can take, there's Hudson, you can take some blocks underneath the knees just to give you a little bit of support. But if it's okay, stay put. And, you know, you can play around with the distance that the feet are away from the pelvis. I find it's actually easier closer, but feel free to play around with that. And then take your hands and just let them fall onto the front of the belly. And then place the very back of the head onto the mat. So you might just take a gentle sway from side to side until you just feel the head kind of get comfortable. And just sort of lift the backs of the shoulders off of the mat, and then let the shoulders become heavy. Let the fronts of the shoulders release. You wouldn't believe how much, even when you come to lie down, you're still kind of pulling the shoulders, the fronts of the shoulders towards each other. So really try to encourage them down. Almost think about the collarbones spreading away from each other. And then bringing the eyes to close. And just look into the darkness of the eyelids. And you might notice that they're not completely dark. You might see flashes of light or shapes, maybe even colors. So just take in whatever you can notice there. And then see if you can start to prick your ears up to any of the sounds within the room that you're in. And then perhaps the sounds that are coming from outside of the 4 walls that you're in. Maybe from within the house somewhere else, or maybe out on the street, traffic, birds, voices. And then start to notice the weightiness of the body that connects to the floor, and the heaviness, the pressure, the sensation of your mat or the floor. And then notice the parts of the body that are exposed to the air, maybe feeling the coolness or warmth in the air. Maybe feeling the parts of the skin that are covered by clothing and the texture there. And maybe the parts of the skin that aren't covered by clothing, and just noticing any differences in sensation. And then just take in perhaps the taste of the mouth, maybe the dryness. Maybe if you just had a coffee, can you still taste the remnants of that, or breakfast? Or maybe noticing, in fact, I'm actually quite thirsty. And just all of these points bringing us into the now, bringing us into our bodies. And just take your awareness up towards the crown of the head. And just see if you can take in the atmosphere of the mind. Almost like it's a microclimate on its own. What's going on this morning, this Wednesday? Is it quiet? Is it turbulent? And then cast your attention down towards the hands. And just start to notice the movement underneath the palms. Perhaps you can feel the ends of the last few rungs of the rib cage. Feeling the belly rising and falling. Maybe even feeling into sensations as the belly digests gurgles, absorbs nutrients. It's always active there, but we just don't tune into it enough. Our bellies are often referred to as the second brain, and in some studies, often in Chinese medicine, the first brain. And with your hands on your belly, I want you to just kind of feel that warmth and maybe even like imagine that you're giving your belly a little hug right now. Our bellies are so important. And the brain-belly connection is extremely strong. When we're stressed, when we are worried, the belly reacts. And the belly can often get cramps or struggle with digestion. And vice versa, when we're not feeding the body well, when we're not digesting food properly, our brains suffer. And they've got this lovely relationship. And if we can start to listen to them both, then we can start to learn about the other. Nice. From here, I want you to just take your hands to the outsides of the thighs and just help the legs in together. Wow. Maybe feeling a little bit creaky in those hips. And you're going to shuffle your feet as wide as your mat and then knock your knees together. And then just bring the arms over the head, opening up those shoulders. We call this cactus arms. I guess because you kind of look like a cactus. I don't know. And then start to windshield wipe those knees from side to side. Don't worry how low the knees go. You're just bringing in a little bit of movement here. Often in long holds, especially hip opening holds, it can feel really creaky and weird right after. Nice. And then come back to center. Okay, so I'm going to chat to you a little bit about your stabilizing muscles, okay, the core muscles, and the relationship with the pelvis. So if you can see me, you can see that my lower back is coming off the mat, and you might even be able to feel that. And don't worry if it doesn't come completely off the mat, your skin might still be touching, but you should feel that the lower back pulls away from the mat. So this is called a lordosis, and our spine has 4 curves, but 2, so they're repeated twice. Okay, this is a lordosis, and your upper back is a kyphosis. So you can probably feel that your upper back is pressing into the floor. Okay, so when we're in this position, the belly's soft. So if you gave your belly a poke right now, you're not engaging your belly. Okay, now without thinking about anything else, I want you to engage your belly, and I want you to feel like you're zipping your belly button down towards the floor. Okay, so you can see that I've pushed my lordosis into the mat, and then release the engagement of the belly, and my lower back will lift. Just do this a couple of times. So pressing the belly button down. Okay, you're going to smooth out that lordosis. You're going to decrease the curve and then release. Okay, so what often happens when we're walking around, when we're moving, when we're lifting things, we dump into this lordosis and we expect the lower back to do everything and the belly's totally soft. What we actually want to be doing, come to not pressing down, but enough so that you're kind of getting rid of that curve. And you should feel, okay, I'm padded, so there's a definite line of padding there, but I can still feel that my muscles are working. Now, take your hands onto the fronts of your hip bones and just come back into that release. So the lower back's coming off the mat. And what you're going to notice is that the pubic bones or the hip bones are kind of going away from you. Now, without thinking about the belly, I want you to draw the hip bones in. So draw the hip bones in, and you're going to notice that you're now engaging the core. Let the hip bones roll away from you. The core releases, the lower back lifts. Draw the hip bones up, the core engages. Why am I telling you about this? What does this matter? Okay, yes, if we move the bones in different directions, different muscles work. These are the tilts of your pelvis, okay? So in this tilt where the hip bones are going away from you, this is an anterior tilt. Stay where you are. This is how a lot of people stand. This is how I stand. Okay, so I lock out my knees and I duck my butt out, and I'm in that anterior tilt, which is what you're doing right now. My belly's not engaging and I'm dumping in my lower back. It's just not supportive. Now, take your hip bones, you stay lying down, start to draw the hip bones up, Okay, this is a posterior tilt. So this feels really weird for me because I'm a natural anterior tilter. So posterior, I'm sending the hip bones up and I'm tilting my pelvis. And then when I do this slight lift, my core engages. So just keep moving through that a few more times. We will do this standing up as well. And what we want to be having is a neutral spine. But for many of us, we're stuck in an anterior tilt, which means that to come into neutral feels like we're going all the way back. So it can feel really weird. Next time that you press your lower back into the floor, I want you to stay. Okay, so you're pressing the lower back down. You can hear that I'm talking. Okay, like it's not affecting me. I can breathe, but my core is engaging. Not massively. Okay, I'm not like doing crazy crunches, but I'm engaging my core. All core work needs to be breath work. Okay. I always say breath work is core work. So if ever you're doing core work, which I don't know, maybe you're a crunch fan and you're doing like 100 crunches a day, you need to make sure you're breathing. So this is relatively easy. Okay. We're going to slowly step it up. But what I want you to remember, when we're doing core work, we need to stay in this posterior tilt. We need the hip bones to be lifting, because if I'm coming into these crunches or I'm lowering my legs to the floor doing intense stuff and I'm in that anterior, my core, only thing I'm doing is dumping into my lower back. Okay, so press the lower back down. You're going to keep the bend of the knee the exact same. Take your hands onto your hips. What we're going to do is move our legs, but from the hip joint. So you're going to start to lift your right leg off the mat. Okay, but I'm not changing the bend of the knee. I'm not doing this. I'm moving from that hip joint. So right leg lifts, and then I place the right leg back down. Keep the lower back pressing down. Okay, so the whole time I'm not letting my lower back lift. I'm keeping drawing those hip bones up, and I'm starting to move my legs. Okay, so this is just a touch more difficult. You might feel it a little bit. Now the core is having to work because it's supporting our limbs. Okay, our legs are quite heavy, so it's having to work. I'll just do it 2 more times on each side. Make sure that you're pressing the lower back down. This is kind of mimicking perhaps walking, really weird walking, but still. And we're training those stabilizing muscles to be on, which they're often not. Okay, let the lower back lift. If you're getting any kind of cramps, just roll it side to side. All righty, so we're going to take it up another level. So take an inhale. As you exhale, press the lower back down, hip bones slightly lift, and then lift those feet off the floor. Look forwards, spot your toes, and then just drop the toes till the toes just disappear so that you can't see them. Okay, now if you've started to lift the lower back off the floor, press the lower back down. Hands onto the mat. You're not going to change your knees, okay? Take an inhale. As you exhale, move from the hip joint, start to lower the right leg. Then start to lift it back up. Doesn't matter if the toe touches the floor. Keep the knee the exact same. You're going to feel this more. Press the lower back down. So the whole time I'm actively pushing my lower back down, and you can start to hear it in my voice a little bit, okay? Because I'm starting to work a little bit harder. Now, you don't have to go very far. If this is your max, because your lower back's starting to lift or you're getting a cramp, only take it this far. If this is too intense, come back to step 1. Okay? Keep going. Keep breathing. Nobody hold your breath. Okay, we'll just do it for 1 more time, each side. Whoo, good. Take a knee in each hand and just rock side to side. Okay, so hopefully you felt that a little bit more. We're going to do 1 more. And again, if this is starting to hurt the lower back at all, come back down a step. So you can either come back to this or back to this. So next step, legs come straight up to the sky. Don't worry about straight legs. Okay, that doesn't matter. We've not worked the hamstrings at all. Make sure that your lower back isn't lifting off the floor. Press the lower back down. Okay, hip bones coming up. Now, this is where we say goodbye to the ego. Don't need it at all. I don't want you to be doing this with your leg. Okay, because if you look at my lower back right now with my leg extended, my lower back's lifting. So instead, let's press our lower back down and let's just lower our right leg maybe an inch or 2. Then lift it back up. Do the same with the left. Now, keep going. What I want you to listen to is when you get to a point where it feels like the lower back wants to lift, stop before that point. all of you are going to be at a different lowering standard, okay? And not by standard, I don't mean standard, just different height. Okay, so for me, I can actually come quite far, but obviously that's because I've been working my core for a while and I'm really aware of that point, where it starts to get really intense. Now, this isn't the classic, doing those crunches type core work. This is actually just training, stabilizing muscles to work as we move. Let's do 2 more each side. If you can, if it's too intense, drop it down a level. Keep pressing that lower back down. Keep breathing. Whoo. Nice. Good. Bend those knees. Take a little sway from side to side. Good. Okay, we're going to do one more thing. We're going to think about the hips coming in and out to move our knees. So we're going to start to roll in a circle with our knees. We're going to let the hips roll away from us as the knees roll away, the arms straighten. Once you come all the way over to one side, you're then going to start to pull the hips in, squeeze the core in. Good. So you're just releasing the hips down as you pull away from you. And then think about coming into that posterior tilt to lift the knees in. All I'm doing is getting you to think about movement in a different way, rather than just kind of swinging the knees around willy-nilly, not thinking about it. As you move the knees, you're telling the core to fire up. As you release the knees, you're letting the core go. Switch it up, come the other direction. Drawing those knees in, thinking about the hip bones lifting, taking you into posterior, then anterior. Nice. And then back to center. Okay, so the next thing that we do, if it doesn't feel good, don't worry about it. And also don't worry if you feel silly, okay? So I think it's really important to get in touch with your inner child in yoga and try to be as silly as possible, but that might feel weird. So we're gonna see if we can start to rock and roll. And your rock and roll might be here, okay? But what I want you to try to do is use the core. So as you roll up, you're trying to squeeze the belly towards the thighs. And as you roll down, you're kind of letting it go. Okay, so it doesn't matter how high you're rolling. Have a laugh at yourself. Don't take yourself too seriously. Good. Can you keep the toes from touching the floor? Can you take a little pause at the top, really lifting the heart? Nice. This is why we got padded bums. Good. And the next time that you come up, either toes can stay on the floor, elbows nice and wide, lift the sternum up, but think about driving those hip bones up in towards the belly button so that you have that engagement. If it feels okay lifting the toes, go for it. Elbows wide. Think about your sternum going forwards, lifting those hip bones into the belly button. Nice. Stay for 5. If you want to challenge yourself, you can straighten for 4. Some of you are still just rolling up. That's okay. 3, 2, 1. Good. Cross the ankles. You're going to roll over those knees and make your way into tabletop position. So hands on the mat. And then we're going to start to let the belly drop, sit bones rise, pull the heart forward. So cow pose. And what you might feel is a really nice stretch on the front of the belly. This is your rectus abdominis. These are the 8-pack that you've got just hanging out. And you're just stretching into that muscle. Then you're going to start to push the floor away, draw the belly in round. Good. Okay. Just continue to move like this. The belly relaxes. It gets a nice stretch. And then pushing the floor away. Now, what you don't realize what you're doing is you're moving into posterior and anterior tilt. Remember what we were just learning about. So come into angry cat. Notice that your belly is drawing in, the belly is engaged. Where are your hips going? Pew, they're going up and in. So they're drawing towards you. Now come into that lazy cow, okay? And in that lazy cow, notice that your hip bones are kind of bloop, they're releasing. Belly's releasing. Good. Now switch it up. Can you think more about the pelvis, move the pelvis, and notice the rest of the body react? So we're just going to take 5 rounds of cat-cow. But I want you to try to move from your hips first, as if this is like the epicenter. So you're turning the pelvis, the pubic bone, that rounds. Then you release, the rest of the spine reacts. So just moving from the hips. Feeling this like really nice undulation of the spine. Like a spinal Mexican wave. And try to link it with the breath if you can. Good. Okay. So coming into tabletop. So what we don't want to be doing, and again, I'm going to lift up my top because I don't really mind getting my belly out. So what we don't want to do in tabletop is this. Okay. I'm in that complete anterior tilt. My belly is not engaged at all. But I also don't want to be doing this in tabletop because that's a bit aggressive. What you want to be doing is creating a table. So remember when we were laying on the floor and we were gently pressing our lower back into the mat? I want you to do that. Just gently flatten out the lower back and you're going to feel the belly slightly draw in, but you can breathe just normally. This is tabletop. This is your plank. This is all of those strong positions where the core is engaged. Press into the hands and then roll the front of your shoulder behind you. So you're externally rotating. And then imagine that you're smiling across your collarbones. So nice and broad across those collarbones. Tabletop's an active pose. Nice. Gaze is down. So ignore me for a minute. I'm not even moving. Looking down to the mat and just thinking about balancing a cup of tea on the middle of your spine. And that you're not going to let that part of the back drop. Good. Okay. So can we keep that activity happening, but tuck our right toe and then drag our right toe behind us, kicking into the heel. Don't let yourself release in that lower back. Okay. So still pressing that lower back down. Then we're going to lift our right foot off the floor. Okay. I've removed the cup of tea, so you're not going to get burnt. Big inhale here. As you exhale, as far as you can, draw the knee towards the nose. Now, as you draw the knee in, push into the hands and come into that angry cat position. So you're really drawing the belly button in. Re-extend, but as you extend, don't come into this position. Find that nice flat back. The toe might not be too high. As you exhale, draw it in, round the back. Re-extend, keep the flatness of the back. Exhale, bringing that knee in. Nice. Extend all the way out. Keep the foot lifted. Option 1, stay here. Option 2, walk the left hand slightly forwards. Option 3, can you lift the left hand off the mat as well? Now, don't look at the screen because I'm not doing the pose. Look down, focus on one thing. See if you can come into that flat back. See if you can draw the ribs in slightly. If the hand, you can't keep it off the floor, maybe just lift one finger. Don't worry. Yeah, if the wrists are bugging you guys, take breaks. Takes a while to get the wrist strength. Good. Okay, drop the hand, drop the knee. Let's give the wrist a little break. Bring the toes to touch. Sit the butt back. You can lengthen the arms in that child's pose, or you can stack the hands and give yourself a little pillow. If you need a block under the butt, squidge it there. And just let the wrists have a moment. So with wrist stuff, there's nothing wrong with you, okay? We are not used to walking around on our hands, and yoga requires a lot of weight on the hands. They're strong, they will get stronger, but they're gonna shout at you because they're like, what are you doing to me? Good, okay, let's come back up. If at any point it's too intense, you have the option of coming down onto a forearm instead, or just skipping it out. Okay, so find that active tabletop again. Okay, nice flat lower back. Push into the hands, fill the space between the shoulders. So we're not collapsing like this, we're active. Turn the front of the bicep out, broaden the collarbones, look down, okay? So the crown of your head, the top of your head's coming forwards. Now tuck the left toe, drag that left toe behind you, kick into the heel. Good, keep that belly slightly drawing in, lift that foot off the floor. Nice, take an inhale here. And as you exhale, start to bring the knee in. Doesn't matter how close it gets to you. As it comes in, push the floor away. Try to lift that knee as high as you can towards your belly. Re-extend. Try not to kick the heel up to the sky. Keep it nice and in line. Exhale, draw it in. Re-extend. Nice. Exhale, draw it in. Okay, coming into that little balance. Option 1, keep the leg off the floor, both hands on the mat. Option 2, right hand just comes forwards. Option 3, maybe a finger or two. Maybe you can get that hand off the mat. Keep the gaze down. Don't look at me. I'm not doing the pose. Spread the fingers wide and press through the whole circumference of the hand. Try not to dump into the heel of the hand. Good. Can you hold it for 3, 2, 1. Nice work, guys. Bring the hands and the knees down. Sit your booty back. Take a moment here. I like to move rather than being totally still. So I often take like a little sway from side to side. Nice. Okay, so bringing yourself up and you're going to sit on your bum, giving those wrists a break. So if you have 2 blocks, that's great. If you don't have 2 blocks, don't worry. What we're going to do is come to sit with our legs out in front of us. Now, what happens to a lot of people when they extend their legs is they struggle to sit and they round their back. So if that's happening to you, sit on a block, okay? A bolster, whatever you have, just so that you can get an anterior tilt, okay? If you can't, that's okay. Keep the hands behind you. We want the hips to come forwards. Here's my other block. So hip flexors. We want to strengthen your thigh, okay? That lifts it up. And then your psoas muscle, which also lifts it up. These are weak on most people. I think maybe if you're like a boxer or you're a runner, they can be stronger. We may not even use the block. So what you're going to do is take the block. Let's try flattest setting. Okay, it can be a block, a book, anything. It might be nothing. Now, hands on the hips. I want you to avoid leaning back. It might happen. So what you're going to do is you're going to lift your right leg and you're going to try to come up and over the block. Now, you might just go and move the block along with you. So if that's happening, if you can't get over the block, just get rid of it and just work on a little paper lift. Now, what might be happening is as you lift, you lean back. And that's your hip flexor saying, I'm not strong enough. So instead of trying to lean back, keep the body forwards, even if it's a baby lift. Okay, if you're like, well, I can do that. That's not a big deal. You're going to take the block on a higher setting. Lift, over, down. Lift, back to center, down. If you really want to challenge yourself, I can do this maybe 2 or 3 times and then my leg just gets too weak. Okay, so not unlikely to get a cramp. Okay, if you get a cramp, just massage it out. Okay, it's just your muscles saying, what are you doing? Okay, we like the muscles to wake up. So I just want you to do 3 more with the right leg, trying to keep yourself straight. If you are keeping yourself straight, you'll feel the core working. Told you might be hating me today. Nice. Come back to center. You can bring the hands behind you, feet on the floor. If you're getting any kind of cramps, this is a nice release. A little sway from side to side. And then we're going to take it on the other side. So block or no block, outside the left leg this time. Hands on the hips, lift, over, down. So my left leg is weaker than my right, and it's a lot harder. We tend to be weaker on our less dominant side. So if you're right-handed, you probably were better at the right leg. If you want to take it higher or lower, guys, play around with it. But again, try not to lean back. All you're doing is making that gap not as intense. Okay, so it's quite easy when you're leaning back. Good, do 3 more. Yeah, and I can see some of you with like cramp stuff happening. Hula hoops are really good. Okay, so if you are getting that, just do some hula hoops. Nice. Okay, once you've done those ones, take your block to the side. Move the block out of the way. Good. We're going to be on our backs in a second. Make sure you've got your strap handy. So hands are going to come behind you, facing the butt. If they can't twist in that much, just take them out on an angle. Okay. If you've got shoulder stuff happening, probably out on an angle. Now, peel the toes into the mat, really glue them down. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, just lift as high as you can. You might be here, you might be able to come all the way into reverse tabletop. And then with control, lower back down. Really round the back, let the muscles release. And then get ready, squeeze shoulders together, lift as high as you can, doesn't matter how high you go. Lower back down, release. Okay, 2 more like that. We're strengthening glutes and hamstrings right now. So we're kind of doing like a full round the world core work. Core is kind of everything. Again, making sure you're not holding your breath, not worrying how high you go, just making sure that you can feel the muscles working. When you hit the last one, can you hold for 5? You might not be very high. 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring the booty down. Take the arms onto the knees. Inhale, just straighten the spine. And exhale, round. Good. Okay. So I told you we were going to come onto our backs. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be easy, but roll yourself onto your back and then grab your strap. So we're going to do, these are some of my favorite hamstring stretches because they are kind of lazy. You get to lie down. Hello, Hudson. So you're going to lift your right leg up to the sky and you're going to take the strap around the ball of your right foot. And take the leg 45 degrees forward so that you're not even working the hamstring yet. Okay, so you can straighten the leg. It's nothing too intense. Now, before we come into the stretch, what I want you to think about, or do rather, is kick into the heel, toes towards the face. And then the front of your thigh, I want you to activate it. Okay, so your thigh, your quads, and your hamstrings have a marriage. When the quads work, the hamstrings lengthen. When the hamstring lengthens, the quads stretch, okay? So we want the front of the thigh to be active. That's gonna stretch your hamstring. And then so that we're not killing our biceps or our arms, you're going to straighten your arms. Hudson, it's not playtime. Kick into the heel, take an inhale. And as you exhale, just gently start to bring that strap towards you. Now, easy option or easier option, left leg bent. If you want a little bit more, you can straighten the left leg and you'll feel this make the hamstring work harder. You don't want to be killing your arms here. So if you're really working the arms, straighten them, walk them up. Good. Okay. You're not going to win a prize if you get your leg, all the way over. So don't worry how far the leg goes. Keep the leg active, toes towards you. Kicking into the heel, thigh active. Okay, let's start to use the breath. Inhale, find length. And as you exhale, see if you can come a little bit deeper into the stretch. We're just going to do 5 like this. Inhale, find length. Exhale. It happens all the time in my classes. I bring out straps and people all of a sudden think they're in a torture chamber. If your face is like completely wincing right now, soften. Okay, this does not need to be torturous. Keep the foot active. Your foot's going to want to stop working, and that's because the foot is making the hamstring work harder. Good. Okay. From here, take the strap into your right hand. And again, straight arm. Okay. We don't want to kill our arm. Left hand is going to come onto your left hip. Now keep your left butt cheek on the floor, but start to let the right leg come out. Now your right leg might be down here. Okay. That's fine. As soon as you feel like your left butt cheek is lifting, stop lowering the leg. Then from here, imagine that you're going to try to bring the foot towards your right ear. Now, what's happening with those toes? Are they lazy and doing nothing? If so, kick into that heel. You're not going to win a prize if you get that leg beside the body. You just want to find your own stretch. So let's find the breath again. Inhale, find length. Exhale, can you just engage a little bit more? Inhale, find length. Exhale, engage. Inhale, find length. Exhale. Okay. Starting to bring that leg back to center. Now, left hand is going to grab that strap. Right hand can just come out to the side or cactus arm if that feels better. And you're going to start to bring that leg over to the left. Now, right butt cheek can lift. Okay, so bring it as far over as you feel comfortable. But don't let your right shoulder lift. So stop when it feels like the shoulder is going to come off the mat. Don't worry so much about the stretch yet. You can even let the leg go a little bit away. Kick into the heel. Big inhale to find length. exhale, start to pull on that leg. Again, if the arm is getting tired, just straighten the arm. Now, really likely that you're going to feel this along the outer edge of the butt cheek. Our hamstrings actually start at the bottom of the butt, so you're really stretching it in this one. Good. Okay, let's come back to center. Start to bend that knee, re-straighten the leg, okay? And then keep the leg straight and lower, 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 all the way to meet the left. And you tell me, your leg is going to feel longer than the left leg. It's crazy how that sensation feels. So when you lower it, it's going to probably feel like it's a foot longer. And just kind of take in that sensation for a moment. And it'd be pretty cruel of me to leave you all lopsided like this. So let's do the other side. Bringing your left leg up, taking the strap around it. Bring the left leg 45 degrees in front of you, just so you can start to activate the foot, activate the quad. So my left leg, my left hamstring, it is always tighter than my right. So flex the foot, toes towards the face, kick into the heel. Squeeze this muscle, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. If I was to poke it, it should feel hard. And then just use the breath. Inhale, find length. Exhale. Can you bring it a little closer? What's happening in the face? Okay. Don't torture yourself. Make sure you can breathe easily. Yes, it's intense. Okay. Hamstring stretches are never not intense. But this is where we learn to listen. Okay. We want discomfort, yes, but we don't want pain. And we need to be able to breathe. As soon as you can't breathe easily, it means that you've taken it too far. Good. Strap comes into your left hand. Right hand, just rest on right hip and start to let that leg come out to the side. Okay. Again, stop when it feels like your right butt cheek is going to lift. Flex the foot, toes towards the face, engage the quad. Inhale, find length. Exhale, can you take it a little further? Good. Breathe through it. Nice. Guide it back to center. Grab the strap with the right hand, left hand extends, and then start to take that leg over. Again, let the leg come lower down. This can sometimes be really intense. Flex the foot, inhale, find length, and then exhale. Can you bring that foot up higher? And when you start to feel that elastic band getting tight, stop, wait there. Hang out there until that intensity starts to lessen. Nice. Come back to center. Release your strap and then start to let that leg come down. And they should feel somewhat equal now. Good. Bringing those arms into cactus and just start to slowly bend the knees and then lift those feet off of the mat. Nice. So coming into what's called supine twist, start to lower the knees towards the right. Now there's a few options here. You can take your block or your bolster underneath your knees, or you can lower the knees further down. Okay, so if the shoulder's coming off the mat and it feels too intense, then you can lower the knees. You can also let your left knee lift. Okay, so if you let the left knee lift, it won't feel as intense. Let your left ear soften to your left shoulder. And then on the next 5 exhales, I want you to just slowly start to tease your left hip a little bit further over to the right and press your left shoulder down. So left shoulder is heading over to the left, left hip is heading over to the right. And this will just start to intensify it. If this is quite easy for you, then you can lift those knees so that they're in line with the belly button. And that's a lot more intense. Again, if you can't breathe properly, you've gone too far. You need to be able to breathe. And then squeeze those thighs, slowly come back to center. Try to keep the knees together and then gently drop them over to the other side. So all those bits that you can use, you can take a block under the knee, you can let your right knee lift. You can lower the knees or lift the knees. And then once you kind of feel like, okay, I've found it, then on every exhale, you just want to tease the right hip over to the left whilst you keep that right shoulder down. Don't worry how far you go. Shoulder tightness will really inhibit how far you can go with this. It should feel like a nice stretch across the pecs if you have tight shoulders. This pose always makes me yawn. I don't know why. Sorry if I just made you yawn by saying that. Squeeze the knees, come back to center. And then from here, just grab a hold of those knees and see if you can use your core to start to bring the belly towards those thighs, just giving yourself a nice big squeeze. And as we exhale, we're going to slowly start to unravel into Shavasana. So if you need a blanket or something warm to put on top of you, feel free to grab it. If with the legs extended, that doesn't feel good, few options. You can just simply bend the knees. You can take blocks or a bolster under the knees as well. And then turn the palms of the hands to face up. And like you're tucking or making a bed, tuck the shoulders underneath you. Slightly lift the back of the head, tuck the chin, and then elongate the back of the neck. So taking the back of the head back down. Nice. And just start to tune into the weight of the feet, the weight of the ankles, the weight of the calves, the weight of the thighs, the weight of the glutes as the hips release and soften, the belly completely soft, ribs releasing like rungs of a ladder, one after the other. The chest softening as the collarbones melt towards the mat, shoulders releasing. Backs of the arms, elbows and forearms heavy. Fingers just softly curl into the palms as the hands release down. Jaw softens as the teeth slightly part, the cheeks release down the framework of the skull. Eyes heavy, brows soft, head releasing down. The entire body resting now in Shavasana. See if you can start to guide yourself back to your breath, keeping the body still and heavy, but just start to take in longer inhales and exhales. And just feel those electric sparks as the body kind of starts to wake up, reattune to the present moment. Send some movement into the fingers and the toes, into the back of the head. And then when you're ready, just take a stretch, whatever kind of stretch you want. Maybe you go into a starfish, maybe you curl yourself into a ball, maybe you lengthen arms in one direction, feet in the other. And then at the end of that nice long stretch, just begin to roll over onto the left or right hand side, eventually bringing yourself into a seated position. If you need a block or something under your bum, feel free to grab it. And then just let the hands rest on the knees, but we're going to take the palms to face up in this opening, welcoming gesture. And slightly tuck the chin to feel the stretch on the back of the neck. Let the belly go. Just take a moment to scan and check in, noticing any small or subtle changes in body, in mind, in breath. And then all together, we take a big inhale, reaching the arms high above the head. And as those palms come to touch, just seal your practice with gratitude. Thumbs drop down to the space between the brow for kindness and thoughts, to the lips for kindness and words, and then to the heart center for you to carry kindness, compassion, and action through the rest of your day. Opening the eyes. Well done. Namaste. Well done. Hopefully that wasn't too killer. I wanted it, it was a bit workshoppy. How'd we get on?
Megan, it was tough in parts, but great.
Good. Did it make sense? Oh, I can't hear you, Paul. Yeah, you guys are all on mute.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's difficult sometimes if you're lying, for me anyway, if you're lying down to actually see what you're doing.
Yes, I've been moving my laptop around all the time. Yeah.
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 What you'll I mean, the more you practice, the more you don't need to see what I'm doing. And that's why often when I'm teaching, I kind of stop doing the poses so that it's Hudson, geez Louise, so that it forces you to kind of just listen. But yeah, I mean, I wish that I could be everywhere.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, it's the limitation of a laptop, isn't it? Of Zoom.
Yeah. Because I've never done yoga before, but I'm surprised how many bits of those exercises I've been given to do for physio and things over the years. Actually, it's quite surprising, isn't it?
It's not. I just wish that the NHS would subsidize yoga and like say to people, right, this is your physio appointment, but now start doing some yoga because it's all the same.
Yeah.
The problem I had, Megan, was lots of cramping, both in my legs and in my arms.
Were you the one standing up? I could see someone standing up and I said to do the hula hoop.
Just walk around, yes.
Yeah, I mean,
it was really bad on my arms.
Where on the arms?
In the top of my arm.
The bicep.
Yeah.
And what pose?
When I had my arms behind me with my palms pointing towards my, when I was lying down.
Yeah,
like
this?
When we lifted our bodies off the mat. Yes,
like
that. Yeah.
The reverse tabletop.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just muscles saying, what the hell are you doing?
Just shows I those muscles much more, doesn't it?
I say it to my mum all the time when she's like, oh, but I'm getting a cramp. And I just say, well, do it. But when the cramp starts, stop, massage it out. Because it is just a cramp. Like if it goes away quite quickly, it's just muscles really.
But does that mean I should warm up much more before I start?
No, not really, because what we're doing is quite warmy uppy.
Yeah,
that's true. I would just say do more. It's just, you know, you've probably not done a lift like that or used those muscles in quite a long time, so they're just cranky.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, do you guys want to keep chatting? Because I'll make Paul the host, Reno.
I'm going for my weekly dose of masochism to watch PMQs.
Okay, well, we'll leave you to that. Was anyone with the straps like caning it and like going way too intense? Or were you all okay? Usually when I teach that, people are like, ooh.
I found those stretches really good actually with the straps. Really
They're great. Yeah. And they're really accessible because it doesn't matter kind of how flexible you are, you can get a strap and do them.
Yes. Just do what you can do.
Yeah, exactly.
That seemed like
can we get video and try that again?
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'm gonna put it up on YouTube now, not live, it'll be private, so it's just for you guys.
Okay.
And I'll share it so you can do it again, definitely.
Good.
Great,
Yeah, I'd like
thank you.
to keep going at that. That was good. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Great, fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome, guys.
very
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye,
Bye.
Hudson.
Bye.
much.
Everybody.
Great job.
Bye.